Ladies and gentlemen, after what feels like decades, we finally have confirmation that Scream 7 is happening. If I do a backflip, will I just die? It was me. I'm the killer. Let's get into it.
Well, sometimes that is better.
That was Red Right Hand 2. That was it. That was the whole thing. Now that I'm covered in black glitter, let's talk a little bit about Scream. As I said many times on this page, Scream 7 would be happening, especially after the huge box office success of the last two movies. The film is tentatively titled Scream VII right now, Scream 7 in Roman numerals. And we have a brand new director, Christopher Landon. Now, fret not, my Radio Silence fans, because they are still involved with the project. All of the Radio Silence guys will serve as producers on this next film, so it'll still feel like a Radio Silence movie, but with that Christopher Landon touch, which in my opinion is the best case scenario. Let's get into that. So first of all, welcome to the Scream team, Chris. We've all been wanting you here for a while, and I'm so glad that you're gonna be directing. It's a very exciting time that's very reminiscent of the time period before like Scream 2022, when like no one had any idea what to expect for that film, and then it was f***ing awesome. I really do hope that's the case, but I will say I do still have a worry about the film. It has nothing to do with the creative team behind it, it's just some other stuff I want to get into a little later in this video. But I'm actually really excited that we have some fresh blood in the director's seat versus the writers. Like, I don't think the writers should change. I think it's the directors that need to change between movies. Look, I know I'm gonna get a comment about this about people who are like, oh, you know, the writers are so bad. They're not. Go back and watch every other Scream sequel. They are all just as flawed as those past two movies. I will die on that hill. I'm not saying that about the directors because like I don't like Radio Silence or something like that. I love their last two movies. I'm just comparing this to the previous Halloween trilogy where every single movie changed up the writers and it didn't really get better. At least in my opinion. When directors do essentially the same concept every movie, even if it is a different tone, you're gonna get a little sick of it. I think that this is just the best move to keep the creative force very fresh and raw. Because like I always say on this page, when franchises tend to make the same movie over and over and over and over again, they tend to go a little stale. So to keep both of those things from contradicting each other, you keep the writers the same so you're telling one long story and not a bunch of other people's stories, and then just have the directors change. You kind of get to have your cake and eat it too that way, and I think that's the best way to run a trilogy personally. What's great about this creative team in my opinion is that we have Christopher Landon in the director's chair who has made movies very akin to the original Scream films. So I think we're going to get something that feels maybe a little more like Screams 1, 2, 3, but hopefully not as silly. The Radio Silence guys are still producing, so I think that dark edge that most of us really like about the last two films and even Scream 4 will still be present in this next movie. My big argument here is that when Scream gets too silly, it becomes a self-parody, and I just don't want that to happen. I feel like that did happen in Scream 3, and we don't need to do that anymore. What's brilliant about the first Scream movie, in my opinion, is that it pushes itself so close to a horror comedy, but it doesn't quite achieve that, and that's all part of the commentary. The difference between Scary Movie and Scream is that in Scream, you have lifelike characters trapped in a B horror movie. In Scary Movie, you're just watching cartoon characters run around and get stabbed. If we lose that and then we adopt the humor of like the ending of Scream 2 and all of Scream 3, it just becomes a self-parody at that point. It's becoming the thing that the original Scream was making fun of. I love campy B movies all day long, don't get me wrong, but the whole point of Scream is to comment on those things and poke fun at them, but like not in a malicious way. So if Scream kind of becomes that, doesn't that deter the entire message of the first movie? A little bit, yeah. Scream 7 needs to be consistently a little dark, but also fun and comedic too. You need both elements. It's so important that you have both of those things consistent at all times. You gotta have all those flavors together, like that scene in Ratatouille where the rat's eating a grape and a piece of cheese at the same time and you just see all these colors bouncing around. That's the Scream franchise, essentially. I think we're in good hands, though, considering the creative team behind this next movie. I see that this is a big concern about people who saw Happy Death Day 2, and they're like, that's just a comedy movie, that's not a horror film anymore, please don't do that to Scream. I don't think that's gonna be the situation here. Look at Freaky, too. I mean, yes, that is a goofy movie, but it's also very dark, has very realistic characters, and has gory-ass kills that I love. That is the balance that I think they need to strike for Scream 7. Make like a freaky version of Scream. That would be perfect. Heck, we might even see Jessica Roth and Catherine Newton in this next movie, too, which would be amazing. Casting and writing is everything when it comes to the Scream movies, in my opinion. I think in that department, the creative side of things, we are all set. We have nothing to worry about. If you like those kinds of movies, of course. The thing that I'm concerned about, which is something that has been a concern of mine since I saw Scream 6 all the way back in March, is what are they gonna do with the returning characters? Now, I made a big stink about this on Twitter yesterday, but if they bring back everybody who survived that last movie, 7 characters, on top of Sidney Prescott, possibly Mark Kincaid, maybe even Joel, that's too many fucking characters. And just to keep things simple, let's take it down to just the survivors of Scream 6 and Sidney Prescott, who of course a lot of us want to see in this next film, including myself. That's 8 characters who can't be involved with the mystery and will not be Ghostface, because it wouldn't make any sense. The only way I could see someone from that group becoming Ghostface is if it was Sam Carpenter and we focused on her the whole movie, killing a bunch of other Ghostfaces. That's unlikely to happen, but I got my fingers crossed. None of these characters are going to be involved with the mystery. They're all actively going to be working against Ghostface, and you're not going to be able to try to pull the wool over my eyes like how they did with Kirby in the last movie. That completely fell flat. No way was Kirby going Ghostface after that whole speech about becoming the thing that the monsters are afraid of and all that. Come on, they wouldn't do that. But that right there is the issue with the Scream franchise moving on. I love Scream 6. Like, I genuinely do. It's my favorite sequel without a doubt in my mind. But the biggest issue the film suffers from is that there's just too many safe characters. And on top of that, they didn't want to kill any of these characters either in the last film. These are 2 things that need to change moving forward with the franchise, or it's just going to become Scary Movie meets Fast and the Furious. Did y'all see Fast X? It's just a bunch of nonsense now. This franchise has potential to not be that, and to be something so much better as long as they lean into the dark side of things. The comedic side is a lot of fun, and yes, very necessary too. But if they don't have that dark edge to it, like how Scream 5 did so well, this franchise is just gonna fall flat. Here's the first of many things some of you aren't going to like. They probably should have killed Gale Weathers in that last movie to up the stakes once again. Characters have to have an end to their arc. That doesn't mean death, but it just means that there's no more development with the character. That's how I feel about Gale Weathers right now. What else can we possibly do with Gale? They made it very clear in Scream 6 that they did not know what to do with the character of Gale Weathers. And honestly, I don't know what to do with the character of Gale Weathers. Everything that you can possibly explore with that character, I think has already been done. That's a tough thing to hear. I know. Gale Weathers is an amazing character. In fact, she's my favorite Scream character. I love her arc from Screams 1 through 5, but I feel like we've explored every avenue of that character, and I feel like there's a bunch of great new characters in this franchise right now that have a lot of potential that we're just not leaning into. People want to see the legacy characters move into the forefront, but I just ask why. Like, is it because you love these characters from that original movie so much? Because if that's the case, then I want you to imagine just having Scream 96 as the only movie in this franchise. They were original characters at one point too. The reason all of us love Sidney, Gale, and Dewey so much is because they all started off as little sapling-like characters with not too much to them, but a lot of potential. Then over the course of the past 25 plus years, they've grown into these amazing oak tree-like characters that are full of a lot of different details and perspectives. We need to do the same thing with the core 4, or they're just gonna be as underdeveloped as they kind of are right now. I want to know more about them. I want them to have a bigger part in the next movie because there's just not much we've explored with these characters. A lot of people are complaining about Mindy's character right now being a little annoying. Well, that's because they're making her a Randy. Instead of making Mindy the Randy, let's just flesh out a new character. Or let's focus on Kirby right now because she's a completely new character from what we saw in Scream 4. It's a really cool evolution. I want to know more about this FBI agent who hunts ghost faces. That's really cool. All I'm saying is that there's a reason that Sidney, Gale, and Dewey weren't the focus of these new movies. I'm not saying they're bad characters. I just don't know what else they could possibly do to focus on them that would be more intriguing than just setting up new characters. While I have my concerns about Scream 7, I'm so excited to be getting another movie. What do you guys think about Scream 7 though? Leave me something about it in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching this brand new Scream 7 update. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more horror content in the future. Please consider supporting me on Patreon, especially if you want to co-host my podcast. The link for that is in the description below. And as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.